I'm Elisa Parker, and we are putting the unity in community here at the Wild and Scenic Film Festival. And we have been connecting with extraordinary filmmakers and other special guests, and we will be continuing that tomorrow. I shouldn't say many, because we have a lot of newbies here, which is great to see. And we also have our veterans who've been here before, including our next guest, Jim Aikman, who's here. And Jim, you have 2 films this year that you're featuring. First, welcome back.
Thank you. It's great to be here. I love Nevada City.
Nevada City's a special place.
Yeah, it is.
For sure. Isn't it great being back after like 3 years for this festival?
Yeah. Filmmaking is, it's a very individual experience of watching a film, but it's so important to share that. And it challenged all of us, I think, during that time when we weren't able to gather together for that experience.
For the response and the audience participation and all of that. And
I think a lot of people, not just our more grassroots community, but Hollywood and everybody wondered if it would ever come back. And I think there have been moments where film has been challenged like this before, and there will be more in the future, and it will always come back because it's the best format for storytelling that we have.
For sure. And storytelling is the key to shifting our culture and everything.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
It's a tool, but yeah, it's entertainment, but it's also a tool for change.
We're going to talk about your 2 films, but we were just talking off camera about how you had been a rock climber and just things shifting and working a lot. But where does your own passion stem from in all this as a storyteller yourself and being a conduit for that for other people?
I think my passion for storytelling goes back a lot further than being a climber or even documentary, and just being obsessed with literature and film as a kid, and then following that in my education, and then finding that I think that adventure is the thread that has always pulled me through things. I mean, if I think about my favorite films as a kid, it's the same thing today. It's that sense of adventure, and I think that's what makes a good story is a character who boldly goes into some sort of situation where success is not guaranteed, and faces challenges and obstacles, and hopefully survives. The
hero's journey.
The hero's journey,
or heroine's journey.
And so I think you can apply that to climbing. Climbing is a pretty obvious adventure, but you can apply it to things maybe more unlikely that you wouldn't necessarily think of as an adventure. Like natural science and wildlife, and you can spin anything into an adventure with the right approach and variables. Well,
and speaking of the hero's journey, so in your 2 films, Jeremy, we'll talk about him in a sec, and he's been here at Wild and Scenic before. Mm-hmm. And then tell us about the other film. What is it called? It's featuring a Brazilian rock climber, and she lives in Montana.
She lives in Great Falls, Montana. It's called What's in a Name. It's directed by Jules Jimravat, who couldn't make it for this weekend. But she came to us with the story of her friend and climbing partner, Maísa Lima, who grew up in Brazil and sort of left behind a difficult life there and immigrated to the U.S. with her mom. And just the 2 of them came here and sort of found their way to a livelihood. And then from there, Maísa found her way to becoming a sponsored professional climber.
Was she a climber before?
No.
Wow.
No. So she and her mom moved to Seattle from Brazil, and from there, Maísa just started getting involved with some of the mountaineering clubs and climbing clubs, and that's how she met her husband, and they together moved to Great Falls, where he's based on an army base. But from there, Maísa, who is a black woman from Brazil, encountered some of the unfortunate racism within the climbing community, particularly in the route names. There's sort of a culture in climbing that oftentimes route names are sort of jokey or tongue-in-cheek, and unfortunately some people found it funny to give some route names pretty inappropriate and racist names, and that's been a topic in the climbing community for a few years now. And so for Maiza, as both a black woman but also an immigrant, to come to the States and encounter that in climbing that we would think of as a more inclusive activity is actually not all that inclusive. And so for her to become a professional climber and then encounter these things that don't make her feel welcome as a climber.
Is that shifting at all, or is her awareness of or attention on this, even in her community, is that shifting?
Yeah.
Change with some, I mean, even just talking about the route names.
Absolutely. And there's been solid change. There's been a lot of advocacy around this issue from Maiza and Jules and a lot of other people, the American Alpine Club, REI, Mountain Project. And a lot of these names are being changed. And I won't even name some of them because they're so
We're seeing it even
appalling.
locally. Right. Like even in Olympic Valley, and it's everywhere. Yeah. I mean, it's a whole new awareness, and it's really important.
It's modernization. It's why should anyone feel unwelcome?
Right. So, and when is that film? Did it already screen?
It played last night in Grass Valley, and it's playing tonight here in Nevada City at 8:30.
Okay. And then Jeremy Collins, who I mentioned, has been here before, well-known rock climber. So tell us about, it's called Like a River.
That one's Like a River. It's about 4 minutes long. It's a short poetic exploration of Jeremy's creative process. He's a visual artist and climber who draws a lot of his inspiration from the desert Southwest. And so in this short film, through a large painting, he connects his three favorite canyons, which aren't connected in reality, but in his imagination and this painting, he's able to connect these three places that are really significant to him and sort of explore his relationship with rivers and draw this really cool comparison between the way a river and water can carve something beautiful out of a landscape, the way that he, with his pen and paintbrushes, can carve something beautiful on a canvas.
Right.
So it was a really cool project that we'd wanted to do for a long time, and we're able to partner with another group in Portland, Oregon, that has created these wild robotic arms so that we could film Jeremy's painting process in a unique,
That's amazing.
in a new way.
Even just maybe speaking to that, the technology we have now. So as a documentary filmmaker, especially covering adventure sport, you like drones. I've never heard of the arm. I don't know what.
They're more popularly used in like a shampoo commercial or something. So if you think of like a slow motion shot where a camera's like spinning around, like a dripping shampoo bottle, it's in super slow motion. It's like that's kind of the normal application for it. But we wanted to use it to, in real time film Jeremy painting over a series of a few hours, creating a large painting. And you can program these really wild movements with the camera that you can repeat, and it was just a way to film that in a cinematic way that I hadn't seen before.
That's cool. How involved do you get as a filmmaker in some of these adventure aspects technically, like with Jeremy, for example, or with any of the rock climbers, really? What does that look like for you?
I love running camera. I don't consider myself like the best camera person in the world, so I love hiring people.
Gotcha. So you hire someone to do that, and it's usually someone who's a climber.
Often,
in that sense?
I do film climbing myself, but oftentimes we like to hire people that are more
that will
qualified.
Do that. Right. But adventure cinema photography is a whole thing.
Well, you need the person shooting these activities needs to be as or better trained than the people doing it. So the more time I'm spending at my office, the less time I'm able to keep up.
Get out and keep up with that.
With everyone else, which is fine.
Right.
But seeing technology change has been, that's a day-to-day process in this industry. Is how are you adapting with it? And that's always going to be the case. I think I came into the industry when the Canon 5D Mark II was first released, and like this, suddenly you can film with, you can shoot video with a photo camera, and it just changed everything. That suddenly anybody could anybody with a photo camera could be making films.
Right.
And now I think we're just in this golden age of nonfiction and documentary filmmaking where there's more resources and distribution than ever before.
Right. Every day people can do their stories.
Yeah.
Last question is, what's next for you now? What are you working on?
Yeah, I mean, just the wheel keeps spinning, and
Yeah.
we've got a film about snail evolution in the Galapagos Islands. We've got a film about wildlife conservation in the Kruger National Park in South Africa. Working on a film with Pete McBride
Wow.
about his father and their relationship that's surrounding flying airplanes and ice skating, and I'm really excited about that
That's
one.
awesome.
And yeah, commercial work and just the whole...
You're busy. You
Yeah.
got stuff going on, Jim.
Yeah.
What do you want to tell people about why they need to come to Wild and Scenic?
Wild and Scenic is an awesome festival. I love where activism gets inspired as the tagline for that, because storytelling is the best tool that we have to get people inspired, and that's where change is going to come from the bottom and up.
Wow.
So, and Nevada City, I think, is a great reason to come here as well.
Nevada
It's
City's
just
a great...
such a charming little corner of the world.
It is. Well, we're glad you're here.
Thank you.
Thanks for taking the time to join us today and talk about your recent projects, and keep us posted on your other ones coming
Will do.
up. And Jim Aikman, and he's here at Wild and Scenic. You might see him around town.
On the dance floor
He's going to
tonight.
be on the dance floor tonight at the Stonehouse for the late night party, and with DJ Fossil. Maybe we'll see you at the parade. There's
Tomorrow?
a Mardi Gras parade. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be
Oh,
there.
yeah. He's going to be there. Track him down. All right. I'm Elisa Parker. It's the Wild and Scenic Film Fest. It's great to be with you, and we'll be right back. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.